replacements since they can't be destroyed with airstrikes and artillery, and instead have to be destroyed through direct shots or outright stormed by riflemen. It's nothing new, the same tactics were used by IS insurgents in Iraq. According to this very interesting article, the fighting was made worse by extensive tunnels that are allowing IS fighters to appear seemingly out of nowhere, attack, then retreat to the hidden bunkers. So who's volunteering to go into these tunnels? Welcome to History Legends, and here are the latest news of the Israel-Palestine war. If you're new to the channel, make sure to like and subscribe. As you know, some of my videos have been targeted with limited or no ads. So make sure to check out my Patreon or PayPal to keep the show running. Thank you to everyone that has already helped, and welcome to the headquarters. At the same time, the IDF is a heavily armored army, right? What could possibly go wrong? Here, let's play a game. You have 5 seconds to spot the enemy fighters. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We all saw the images in the mainstream media. The IDF has accumulated a significant number of armored vehicles around Gaza. In this video, at least 50 armored vehicles of all types, Merkava 4M, IFVs, APCs, all parked right outside the Gaza Strip. However, as history has shown us, urban warfare negates a lot of the attackers' technological and firepower superiority. We have to remember that Gaza is one of the most dense urban areas in the Middle East. Israeli mechanized brigades can expect to face a lot of anti-tank weapons. In this video, Israeli vehicles haven't even made it to the urban area of Gaza, that they are already getting targeted. In one of the last videos posted by HMS, we see them make homemade PG-29V Vampire rockets for their massive RPG-29s. And they're making them by the dozens. And in the next frame, we see that every fighter of these anti-tank units is provided with 3 of those rockets. And they even showed us how they plan on using them. In this cinematic trailer, we see them practice an ambush on a real life-size mock-up Israeli armored column, using those same RPG-29s. Like you can see on screen, these can be shoulder-fired. These can destroy or damage enemy armored vehicles at an effective range of 500 meters. It's not a lot, but in urban warfare, it's more than enough. One scenario we could imagine is that the Palestinians at first give little resistance to draw IDF columns right into Gaza with a false feeling of confidence, and then they would swarm and fire at them from all sides. To avoid such scenarios, this means Israeli infantry will have to dismount from the IFVs and clear each sector one by one. This is when all the Palestinian mortar teams could intervene. Within a couple seconds, they could fire a couple rounds at the exposed infantry and then pack up and quickly switch positions. Even worse, what about these underground mortar positions? Even with a lot of surveillance UAVs, it will be very hard for the Israelis to detect all these firing positions. Overall, from a tactical perspective, this means lots of house-to-house fighting. We can expect the Palestinians to move quickly into position to ambush advancing columns, and then pivot to concealed locations. So when the troops on the ground will call for close air support, there's a very good chance that Israeli Air Force or artillery will just fire at empty positions. Another problem we can imagine is that whenever Israeli assault squads will manage to secure a block, they will need to leave a lot of riflemen behind to hold the ground. During the 2016-2017 Battle of Mosul, Iraqi commanders complained that it's hard to consider an area liberated because though we control the surface, the enemy will appear from under the ground. Oh my god. Telling your mom that her cooking is bad has more chances of success than this military operation. In the end, we can expect Israel to lose over 2,000 soldiers KIA and an extra 14,000 wounded in this operation to clear out HMS from Gaza. Are they willing to pay that price? Because now they have momentum, and I feel the Israeli population would be ready to accept such casualties, but only now. Oh yeah, I forgot. Israelis will also face a lot of IEDs and minefields. If the first vehicle of the column gets hit by an IED, all the others behind will have to stop as well. And without movement, the entire column will become very vulnerable. The response to this, Israel needs a lot of sappers and engineering units. Once again, that was a big problem for the Iraqi army in Mosul. The progression of their armored columns was extremely slow. We're talking about eliminating 10 enemy fighters and securing 1 square kilometer per day. The Palestinians could very well combine RPGs and IEDs. For example, check out this article from Forbes about the 2014 push of the Golani Brigade into Gaza. On the second day, a Palestinian rocket team emerged from a tunnel and blew up a broken down Israeli M113 armored personnel carrier. 7 Israeli soldiers KIA. We can also assume there were a lot of wounded Israeli troops. If we say 3 wounded for 1 KIA in this situation, we have an entire platoon that got eroded. After this ambush, the Israelis sent in engineers to clear the area, retrieve the damaged vehicles, and pull out the wounded. To achieve this, they have those Puma combat engineering vehicles you can see on screen. But like we've seen in Ukraine, usually armies don't have enough of those. To which Forbes added, Israeli casualties mounted as a close quarters battle raged around the engineers' convoy. And we are not done. The IDF could also face loitering munitions, aka kamikaze drones. From the latest videos of HMS, those seem to be launched from inside buildings. So these could target advancing armored columns inside the city within seconds. I'm not an expert in this topic, but you would need electronic warfare units advancing with the main force, because Palestinians could come up with very sophisticated ambushes. These Israeli vehicles I showed you were geolocated only 7 kilometers away from the border with Gaza, and they're all packed up in parade formation. Now, to be fair, Israelis did start to add cope cages on top of their tanks. A very rudimentary technology learned from the Eastern Front, which has shown some efficiency against drones. In this frame alone, you can see 5 tanks equipped with these cope cages. But if we increase the difficulty level, there's something else that could happen. Palestinians could repurpose their rockets, and instead of firing them at random just on Israeli territory, they could use them to strike these vulnerable armored formations. And this is a serious threat because in this video you can see a rocket attack in the vicinity of this unit, with Israeli tank crews taking cover behind the armored vehicles. Conclusion, the IDF will have no other choice but to bomb and bulldoze its way into Gaza. But the Israelis will also have to turn the city upside down because of all the tunnels and underground hideouts. This could explain the current hesitation of Tzahal. Israel can 100% win this battle, but are they ready to pay the price? That's why currently there is a heavy emphasis on airstrikes and heavy artillery rather than ground engagements. Thus, going back to what I told you in the introduction, the Israeli army is a casualty-phobic army. For this mission, the Israeli Air Force prepared dozens and dozens of American JDAM glide bombs for its fleet of F-16s. In this one, allegedly a tunnel system seems to have been targeted. And in this one, we see a position Palestinians used to fire rockets from that gets bombarded by the Israelis. But once the real fighting starts, we can expect them to do a lot of spray and pray. Like you've seen on social media, the latest airstrikes have turned entire city blocks of Gaza into rubble. In turn, it's going to be very difficult for Israeli armored formations to push through when you have parts of the city looking like that. And then there's diminishing returns of artillery bombardments against places that are already destroyed. Just like the German paratroopers did during the Battle of Monte Cassino, where they managed to turn every ruin into a fortress. Sadly, these bombings also brought its load of civilian casualties, like this convoy that was evacuating as told by the Israelis from North Gaza and that still got targeted. Really horrible. The battle will be especially messy because of all the civilians that are essentially besieged and that have nowhere else to go. Gaza has 2.3 million inhabitants, of which 45% are under 18. Take a look at what the Washington Post wrote. Israel orders 1 million Gazans to evacuate. UN says that's impossible. This is why Israel is trying to displace the civilian population from the north of the Gaza Strip to the southern parts. Ideally, they want those to evacuate to Egypt. But Arab countries know that if that happens, there's a big chance that the Palestinians won't be allowed back inside. That's all I have for you today. Let me know in the comment section what you thought of my analysis. If you're new to this channel, make sure to like